Welcome
This
everyone on
conference will
Tamara's
now be
behalf.
recorded.
We're going to start in just a few minutes, folks. My name is Daniel Moore, and I'm going to be hosting the Intention Tremor book tour release party tonight. And so welcome everyone. Thanks for coming. And Tamara wanted me to make you aware that the event is going to be recorded, and to also remind you that it's for the Accelerated Cure Project as a fundraiser for all of the book sales. So to really think of that in terms of the response tonight. So I'm going to give us a few more minutes, and then Tamara's going to have me to start. I'm so honored to be here. And we know each other through the sleep world industry years ago, and we found out that we were both poets, and it was a win-win situation all the way around. Yeah.
Awesome.
I know. Can everybody hear okay? Is everybody technologically, are we all kind of in tune?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. Okay.
I muted my mic, so.
Okay. I think Tamara is requesting that we mute the mics mainly during her reading, and then to use the chat column to enter questions during the reading, so that we can use that for the Q&A afterwards. Yeah.
Okay.
Good. Okay, folks, it's 7:05, which is when I'm supposed to start. Okay, so I'd like to welcome everyone on Tamara's behalf. My name is Daniel Moore. I'm a facilitator of the Oak Harbor Poetry Project and the boys. I am unmuted. Can you folks hear me okay?
Yes, I muted you, but you're back.
Okay. Okay. Should I start again?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. So everyone, welcome to the launch party of the Intention Tremor Virtual Book Tour 2021, featuring author Tamara Kaye Sellman. I will be your host tonight, Daniel Moore, and I'm really grateful that you've joined us. Before I introduce Tamara, I'd like to remind folks that this launch party is being recorded. I also want to remind you to all mute yourself during the reading for the best possible sound quality. If you have questions for Tamara, she'll answer them following the reading, which we encourage you to post at any time during the reading in the chat column. The speech bubble on the meeting toolbar is where you can find the chat function logo. Please remember that Intention Tremor is part of a fundraiser to support the Accelerated Cure Project, which Tamara will highlight later during the event. There will also be 4 items given away at the end of the reading tonight, as shown in the accompanying image above. I think that's, if you guys can probably see that on your screen, I can't see that. But they include a 4 GB credit card flash drive, a coffee cup, a cloth journal, and a copy of Intention Tremor, but you must be present to win. And I think you all qualify for that right now. Okay. So without further ado, let me tell you about Tamara. Oh, excuse me. There will be a toast at the end of this, so please make sure you have a beverage handy, and Tamara will stay online for 15 minutes afterward to chit-chat about what we've experienced. Now, without further ado, Tamara Kaye Sellman woke up one day at the age of 47, preparing to study for finals for her sleep technology program. But when she opened her book, she discovered that while she could see just fine, she could no longer read. That March day in 2013 led to her diagnosis of relapsing, remitting multiple sclerosis the following May. Since then, she has kept multiple journals of her experiences, understanding, fighting with, and surrendering to the sometimes unusual but always unwanted elements of the chronic incurable illness. By the fall of 2013, she began to see a need for a collection of personal writing about this transition to her new normal and began writing Intention Tremor in earnest. Intention Tremor, as a hybrid collection of multiple poetic and prose forms, creates a unique blend of writing where verse, scientific jargon, and medical memoir collide, which authentically represents Sellman's creative landscape. Tamara resides in Kingston with her husband Mike and is gearing up to teach a digital workshop on writing illness for the Kahini later this month. Throughout the book Intention Tremor, we are asked, told, and pause to consider the price the poet and reader will pay to survive such adventures into the body. Tamara Kaye Sellman is not distracted by dualism's dirty little parade. Her commitment is to allow the poem to incarnate suffering, healing, and pain. He writes in the piece titled The Words But Not for Words, quote, "Hope is a recognizance unit, always scouting new ways in," unquote. Clearly, the way out is the way in, and each word is the blackboard's chalk scraping across our hearts. How graced are we to sit in this class. It is my ultimate pleasure to introduce to you Tamara Kaye Sellman.
Thank you guys. I'm just so honored to see all of you here. Look at all of these faces, they're all familiar, and I'm just thrilled that you're here from near and far. Hi. I'm sitting here going like this the whole time he's reading. I'm like, oh, there you are. Oh, so good. So it's just so lovely to have you here. Thank you. I'm humbled by your introduction, Daniel. And thank you so much for helping me launch my baby out into the universe tonight. First things first, very important. It is really important right now to be a good literary citizen. And I have to say, both of the hosts tonight, I had a party earlier tonight with Michelle Bombardier as host. And of course, now I have Daniel here helping to launch this book here on the West Coast in the TREMOR party, which I'll get into. Both of these writers have fantastic books, and we need to buy each other's books. We need to collaborate. We need to really support each other through a pandemic, because there are no live readings. There are no other venues that we are usually traditionally accustomed to doing in order to get our books into the hands of our readers. So if you can go and check out Daniel's books and Michelle's books, that would be fantastic. Show your support for them, because they are very fine writers, very fine poets, and we can never have too much poetry in our lives. And Sandy is nodding her head, and I'm like, you right, that's right. So I have links to their books in the invitation and also on my website, but I will follow up to this meeting with links to their books so you can go check them out. Okay. So very important, super important. That's more important than anything, really. We all have to stick together and be part of this community. So community. Okay. So, since November, I wasn't even sure about even launching this book. Not because I was afraid that it wouldn't do well, but these have been such divisive times between the election and COVID-19. I really meant to start the process in earnest the beginning of January, literally on the day that they certified the election. And then we know what happened right after that. The Capitol building was stormed in Washington, D.C. And I just couldn't even think to focus on something like a poetry book when literally democracy was just like facing this weird thing that happened. So I held my breath like many of you did. And then literally the hour after Joe Biden was inaugurated as president and Kamala Harris took her oath, I sat down on my computer and I just started making content and sending out invitations and doing all that stuff. It was like a dam had burst, and I could finally get on with the business of promoting my book. So I'm thrilled that you guys are here with me. So quickly after I started this process, and now we can all talk about it and celebrate, and it's so exciting. So I'm calling this the Tremor Party because it's the second part of the name of the book, of course, but we are here on the mountain and Pacific time zones, and we got a lot of earthquakes around here, so I guess you could tie it in there, especially you, Laurel, down in California. And then also, I think a launch party, we try to shake things up with people when we launch our books, and so that's what I'm hoping to do with my intention, is to shake things up a little bit with this book. So I'm glad that you're all here to be part of that. I am using a little bit of a script because my brain is really tired, and if I didn't, I would probably just be word salad tonight. So I hope you don't mind me turning occasionally to look at my notes. Yes, the audience, all of you audience members are muted just because it makes it for better reading. But at any time during this reading, please put your questions into chat for me, because then we can get right into the business of answering those questions. And there's something in it for you if you're the first person to post a question. Just giving you a little hint there. Okay, and you can ask anything. It could be very personal. It could be about multiple sclerosis. It could be about, my symptoms. It could be about anything related to this book. So, okay, so without further ado, I have here Intention Tremor. I also have, yay, it's here. I already have dog-eared like tags on my pages. And it's really weird doing an online reading. I wish you could see this, and I'll post a picture on Facebook. I have all these little sticky notes on my laptop screen that say, look up, because my camera is up here, but I want to look up here at you guys, and down here is my other screen. So it's the only way I can do this. So if my eyes go gray, I'm really trying. So, okay, so let's talk about this first poem. This was a request from Daniel I'm reading, because he asked me to, and I like this poem, and it's a great place to start. This was written in the summer following my diagnosis. It was up at Squim Bay, which is on the peninsula, a really beautiful place, in August during the time of the Perseid meteor showers. And we were camping, and we walked down to the dock on Squim Bay to look at the the beautiful meteor showers. So in this poem, there's one term that you should know. It's called corpus callosum, and that describes the broad mesh of nerve fibers that attach both hemispheres of your brain. And they do all of this network handles a huge amount of your processing, really important structure in your brain. So you just need to know that. So this first piece is called Fallen Stars. There were stars in my mind's sky, and then one night there weren't. Black holes marked negative silhouettes where astrocytes used to burn. Even the late August sun lost its radiance behind filaments of cirrus streaking high in daylight. We worried. Pollution, vitamin D, rumors of the planet off her poles, if and how we would survive the fall. When the brain's lights wink out, when phosphenes curtain vision like the aurora borealis, you question the pleasure of staying up to watch the Perseids. Remember that night? We stretched our bodies across the bay dock's worn grain, fingers dangling in bioluminescent tide to conjure man-made meteor tails. Remember the harmlessness of shooting stars before diagnosis? How we saw them first reflected in the bay? When we looked up, we found the stars, first lost to us by smog, returned. My interior galaxy is no more a marvel. Dark stars cluster there now, missing their points, pressed flat against a matte black backdrop inside my skull, bathed in a tainted bay of spinal fluid. I can't connect the junctions of my brain's star patterns like bookmakers do, galactic constellations etched white on blue in books. Cygnus, the dragon, shield, northern crown. I could hardly find mine, much less name them, astrocytes that no longer rage white, hot but blink randomly, genetically fueled by corroded, irreplaceable batteries. What I wouldn't give for a personal Milky Way to brighten my MRI, its soft glow illuminating the interstitial spaces of the corpus callosum, soft, luminous contrails to light my way. Instead, mine is a black hole sky, salted in white dots, negative action potentials, pretending the bravery of 5-point stars. Okay, so early in 2013, thank you. Early in 2013, as Daniel pointed out and described earlier, I discovered when I woke up that I could see just fine, but I couldn't read. And I mean, I could see clearly. There were no spots like in a migraine, which I've also had. So it was really frightening because I've been an editor and a publisher and a writer for most of my life. So what is this, strange new hell I was in? In that moment, I was studying for finals, and I called the doctor, got in to see him right away. He gave me an MRI literally across the parking lot on the same day, which is, Jennifer will tell you, that's a miracle. And after a lot of tests and 6 weeks later, my neurologist in Seattle confirmed that I had MS. So during that time in limbo, I did what many of us would do. I went to Google and looked things up. Don't we all look things up? I tried to piece together other signs of MS that I might have overlooked. And I discovered that there were some unusual symptoms that I had that actually went back to 1975 when I was 9 years old. That's weird. Doing this can help you piece together the puzzle, but it can also make you feel a bit like a hypochondriac. Certainly, people with MS will tell you how other people will tell them how much it's all in their head. And in a sense, it kind of is. If you want to be literal, it is all in our heads, but we're not imagining these symptoms. So I wrote a poem about that whole experience, this aspect of life living with chronic illness, especially as it pertains to invisible symptoms. So this is called Diary of a Syndrome, a Hypochondriac's Blitz, and it's a blitz form, poetic form. All right. Diary of a Syndrome. Hiding the truth. Hiding a diary. Diary in permanent ink. Diary of symptoms. Symptoms of the brain. Symptoms of the body. Body of knowledge. Body of evidence. Evidence of foul play. Evidence-based. Based on opinion, based on facts. Facts don't lie. Facts on file. File this. File a claim. Claim ignorance. Claim a dependent. Dependent upon circumstances. Dependent upon your survival. Survival of the fittest. Survival story. Story structure. Story of my life. Life force. Life with chronic illness. Illness and injury. Illness and wellness. Wellness center. Wellness plan. Plan for the worst. Plan for the unexpected. Unexpected company. Unexpected pain. Pain in the ass. Pain management. Management of symptoms. Management experience. Experience setbacks. Experience of a lifetime. Lifetime warranty. Lifetime commitment. Commitment heavy. Commitment fatigue. Fatigue at work. Fatigue syndrome. Syndrome actor. Syndrome or disorder? Disorder? Actor? So believe it or not, oh, you guys, thank you so much. believe it or not, you do adapt to living with a brain and a body that are highly unreliable. More often lately, it's been reliable than not, but you know, I have my days. I intentionally try not to let the specter of disability steal my thunder or invade my plans, but sometimes it does, and that's just life. That's life anyway. There are plenty of bad days, but there are also good ones, and I always try to frame it in that way. Having a sense of humor certainly helps, and I'm also grateful that I have meaningful work in my life that I can do out of the luxury of my own home, and I've been doing that for several years. So this whole work from home thing, that's old hat. So I'm grateful that I do have that. It's good to keep yourself not busy, but to do things with purpose in your life, no matter what the world throws your way. So here I am. This next poem describes a sensation that I still experience sometimes. A friend of mine just, her name is Terry, and she just posted about this on Facebook, and I thought it was really funny because it was today and I was going to read this poem. It's this experience of being unable to maintain an upright posture when you have your feet together and you're standing upright and you close your eyes. It's part of the neurological exam that you go through every time you see your doctor. Some people will fall forward, or they'll fall backward, or they'll feel like they're falling backward, but they're falling forward. It's known as Romberg's sign. For me, I don't fall forward or backward. I fall sideways, and that's the name of this poem. Okay, sideways. Yesterday, I woke up sideways. Descending the stairs, I used the railings without white knuckles. I don't fare new adventures anymore. My eyes cocked 45 degrees, left to center, even when the crown of my head pointed straight up into the chakra constellation that orbits there, invisible. Do my eyes look funny? I asked him. He shook his head. Is my mouth drooping? He answered no. Am I walking a straight line? My eyes at slant noted the floor, found no evidence of ersatz gravity, which I assumed would be the natural outcome of life on the diagonal. You look fine to me, he said. So I sat at my desk and got to work on deadlines. That describes any number of days of my life, I'm telling you. Thank you. Okay, so here's something that's kind of fun and weird. I have a poem about quarantine, but I wrote it 5 years ago. I wrote it in 2016. As anyone with autoimmune conditions understands, that compromised immune system means the flu season is really not a great time to be out in public, because as we all notice, there are lots of people that take their hacking children out into the grocery stores or whatever. There's a lot of sick people out in the world who just keep going because they're powering through, right? And I get it, people need to work and stuff, but that's a risk for me that I'm just not willing to take, because it risks giving me what is called, in the colloquial term, a flare-up, okay? So people don't die from MS, they die from complications of MS. A case of the flu could literally actually land me in the hospital and lead to a flare-up, which would cause more brain damage. Basically, that's irreversible. So it's not worth it, basically. I'm happy to stay at home, seriously. So I'm used to hiding out. I don't really like hospitals, even though I used to work in one. I still don't like going there for anything but an MRI, which I do. I actually did an MRI with a mask on this year. It was really weird. The only other reason I hope to go to the hospital in the near future, fingers crossed, is to get my vaccine, which amazingly, people with MS still are not qualified to get a vaccine right now. I don't know why. So in this poem, there's a reference to DMT, and that describes disease-modifying therapy. And that's the category of medications that we take to potentially slow our progression or reduce our chances of getting more severely disabled. I'm very mildly disabled on the scale. I'm far to the left, a little bit in, but people can go, the further right you go on that scale, the more severe. And I want to stay that way. So I want to avoid getting the flu or anything else. So as I read this, just remember, I wrote this 5 years ago. There's going to be some familiar language and ideas in here that really weren't being talked about in our in a kind of national conversation, but it's going to seem kind of deja vu familiar to you. And it has a very simple title. It's called Quarantine. Quarantine begins between Halloween and Veterans Day after my flu inoculation. Safeway grocery shopping only happens after 8 p.m. or not at all. Bottle of hand sanitizer in my pocket for times when the store supply disappears. Wearing a face mask doesn't really protect me from the hacking up of lungs and other fine particles that people seem happy to share with neighbors. I reserve those masks for plane trips made necessary by work interests, hoping to send a message of awareness. I've been lucky so far. Head colds that last 14 days, the feels like norovirus, GI disruptions, more likely related to my medications, but no real influenza. Immunocompromised. I belong to that exclusive club filled with babies and old people, defending against that much larger club who fears the modern miracles of vaccines, eschewing science, praising herd immunity. I'm no germaphobe. This is no hypochondriac's fable. I've been told don't risk it by more than one physician. My DMTs render blood test results that mirror the compromise of AIDS, so I choose quarantine to survive 6 months of other people's freedom of choice. Yes, they're out there and they're deadly. People with MS die from smaller things, after all, like hospitalizations for UTIs that the healthy cavalierly fend off with glasses of cranberry juice. The days dawn dark until March, prompting morning rituals like with a happy light and coffee cups. Right? I can't take vacations from Facebook lest I lose touch with people who care. So I ponder the simple gift of having a husband who looks forward to daily grocery trips. And he still does. Thank you. All right, so my husband was in the previous poem. He was the one I was asking the questions to. I ask him lots of weird questions. He's used to it by now. So social media is a really strange place that we've all come to know, and it's really become even a stranger and more volatile place in the last few years. But it's really never been a safe place. You might be surprised to learn that there are trolls who enter chronic illness forums specifically to target people who are sick. I've experienced my fair share of them, not only as a member of a group in Facebook, say, but also as an admin of a very large 12,000 member Facebook group. And we've had to kick out so many horrible, horrible people. So in 2013, since 2013, I've been dealing with them, and it's not a new thing. The world really can be a cruel place. Thank goodness for lovely people like you to offset that madness. Where conspiracy theory does poison these locations and communities where people go to actually seek out help. So I wrote a prose poem about this because sometimes that's just what you do. You don't take any guff from these people, you just write poems about them. Just like novelists write murder novel, they write murder mysteries to kill off people that they don't like. So this is my prose poem as a tribute to this particular low life that we all experience on the internet, whether we have MS or not. It's called The Expert, okay? And it's a prose poem. Okay, the expert sits online, overstimulated by blue spectrum light, scouring for evidence, though all he understands is purely anecdotal. The first person accounts, the stories from a friend of his sister's boyfriend's boss. He misinterprets clinical studies, decides 2 and 2 equal 5, wonders why science is taking so long to discover a capital C cure. He is not a biologist, but he might be a theologist. He does not know B cells from jail cells, from T cells, from killer cells, from supercells. He thinks the cure is known, locked in a cylinder in a vault in Antarctica, where nobody will ever find it except through an act of espionage. He thinks sick people are the cash cows of the corporation, that vaccines are for fools, that medicine is poison, big pharma the enemy, but vitamins are miracles, even when they cost you your electric bill. And if you drank special water, ate special diets, performed special yoga poses, the gut biome would reverse itself and eliminate your dis-ease. Our web evangelizer believes you will fall for his friendly profile picture, the posts about his dogs, his misspelled words, and conspiracy theories posted at hours when only insomniacs breed. Who knows who he really is? To be sure, we could all stand to look in the mirror to see who we are and who we are not. Those people, they just get under my skin. So before I read this last poem, I'm just loving seeing all these responses from you guys. The smiling faces, it's fantastic. I love it. So thank you for coming tonight. Of course, there's Q&A, and I see that there are questions, and that's so exciting because I'm happy to answer anything just about. It's really, really important for you to be here though, because it's really hard to try to sell a brand, not to sell, but to even debut a first book in the middle of a pandemic. So it's really great that you're here. Okay, this last poem is quintessentially me. I inherited my sense of optimism from my mother, who had 2 cousins and 2 aunts who lived with MS back in the day when there were no treatments for it, and it was probably impossible to even get a diagnosis. I mean, it was just, they just didn't know what that was. It's still, you know, it's still a mystery. And then I inherited my love for the road trip from my father, who drove us everywhere on long camping trips every summer. So this poem is called Map to New Normal. The map to new normal may look like a highway lined with the signs of the past. But let's not confuse the memory of the capital B before with the unknown of the capital A after. Diagnosis puts an address for a cul-de-sac on the map, that's all. I am there sleeping between peaks at cartographies, drafted and given to me by friends and strangers, some of you in here, who know the switchbacks, roadblocks, construction sites, duck crossings, speed traps, parade delays, and black ice ahead. Who takes this highway without realizing possibility? Who only finds travel guidance in the rear view mirror? And how can they not become lost forever? My doctor says I've been wandering blind this side road for maybe as long as 40 years. Blindly living random fate like anyone else, never spotting intersections where odd numbers of streets meet at angles, hallowed ground where curses and miracles are born, only to be abandoned to litters. I was a working mother. Life equaled exhaustion. Yes, sometimes the afflicted drive these same streets to their graves, having never known they were ever sick. The chaos of living life built of plans and passion can be just the right distraction for hurling oneself through traffic circles of pain, distress, brokenness. It took me decades to trace the paths of back-to-back infections, strange speech pathologies, memory blots at age 25, roadside naps at commuter hour, before I finally took a closer look. These maps unfolded across the hood of my car mark the same throughways, but in changing topography, ley lines that require diverse access points, different modes of transportation, even if none of us can choose our own adventures across these roads leading to anywhere and yet nowhere at all. Am I travel worthy? For now, my body is imprecise but intact. My brain's neural network of overpasses, side roads, and major arterials, lost it, only slightly ravaged by potholes of demyelination. I take heart that U-turns, express lanes, tunnels, and detours remain likely options, that if given time, a road crew might yet arrive to fill those grooves with steaming black asphalt. Don't cry for me because I know something more about myself today than I did only yesterday. Don't cry for my aunt who spent her life mangled in a wheelchair before modern medicine labeled MS by its cellular pedigree. Don't cry for the cousin who was given a cane and a prayer in the pre-Google age. Don't cry for friends who've raised kids to healthy adulthoods, who still rise daily with sight, mobility, just enough fuel for the trip to work. They've already found the milestone I'm only finding for the first time, the exit from old normal to new. A bypass lined with orange cones to mark freshly painted shoulders. I dream of the day I can access my disease by private lane like they do, my name on the green reflective sign planted perpendicular to meet the rest of the world. Today I hunt that property. I choose the map of watercolors, start the day with a pot of joe, my brightest lamps to cut the shadows, road trip music to drown out the tinnitus, and endless sky for my horizon. Rest stops, scenic routes, festivals, roadhouses, pop up where only my people dance. Thank you so much. All right. All right, I think I'm trying to unmute here, but it's your turn there, Daniel.
Do you want me to actually ask the questions, or can you read
Yes.
them? Okay,
Yes.
okay, we shall do that. Let's. Okay.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time unmuting everyone here. So anyway,
Okay. Can everybody else now talk themselves?
maybe if they unmuted themselves, maybe I'm unmuting all, but they've just volunteered to
Okay.
mute. So
Okay.
yeah, okay,
Yes,
good.
many of us had muted ourselves.
Yes, okay, but it would
Okay.
be great if you could read them. Yes, that'd be great, Daniel. Thank you.
Try to. You want me to mute them or to leave them?
No, you're good. You just
Okay,
if you-
good. Okay, good. I'll just start with the questions. How about that? Okay.
Excellent.
Suzanne Edison said, can you talk about the continuum of MS? What are the extremes? Do your symptoms change over time? And I think of Lucia Perillo and her poems and essays.
Lucia Perillo, yes, she's got that beautiful book. That's on my shelf somewhere it's over there. The continuum it varies widely. It depends on things like lesion load. You've heard of viral load. That's a common term right now in COVID speak. But lesion load means however many, for lack of a better term, holes in your head that you have, how big they are, and how long they've been there, and how active they are. So some of us only have a few, and some people have a lot, and some people will have a lot, and then they'll go away, and then they'll come back. So the continuum is it really depends. So you generally start with a relapsing remitting disease course, so it comes and it goes, and then it can become progressive. So it can become secondary progressive. Often as we age, then it can lean toward that. And in that case, then you're going to see more disability. However, some people start out with primary progressive. So they don't have it where it just comes and goes. It just hits them and it never stops. And they have it the hardest in a number of ways because they don't even have medications that can help them really. Whereas we can at least try to stop our progression if we have relapsing remitting people with progressive MS. It's just managing symptoms at this point. So my symptoms, right now I'm still in remission. So I just have the same symptoms I had when I was diagnosed. So they haven't gotten worse, but when I get tired, they do come back.
And you have zero kind of forewarning as to a change happening, or?
Yeah, I mean, now that I've lived this for a while, I know that if I overdo it, I can expect certain things to happen. I can
Okay.
expect to be really highly fatigued. I can expect to get, if I was standing right now, my leg would be shaking all over. I have this weird postural tic, and I can't control it unless I really think about it, but then I wouldn't be able to do this because I have a lot of cognitive and sensory things. That's actually where most of my MS resides, in that invisible space, and my ears ring constantly. So, and I'm kind of used to that now, but it's not fun.
I want to share the comments of people that are celebrating with you as well. Wendy says, "I just love hearing you read these poems, Tamara."
Is that Wendy Call?
Wendy to
Wendy,
everyone. Yeah, and she's a
yes,
sharer.
Wendy
So I
Call.
love hearing that.
You know, I have to say, Wendy Call inspired a lot of this book. She has no idea. I did share this with her recently, but she had written a collection, a medical topic collection, which was an abecedarian. So every poem started with a distinct letter of the alphabet, and there are 26 poems. And this book started out as that. I loved how she did that. And I got up to about number 20, and that's when I changed to doing this hybrid, because that's just what happened. But it was really Wendy's, her book that inspired me to try that.
Thank you, Wendy.
Yes.
Thank you. Christy Webster says, "What were some other diagnoses that were considered before you were finally diagnosed with MS?"
That is a good question. Most people have to go through a ringer. And I have to say I was super lucky, because literally the day that my doctor saw me, he checked my eye, he did the whole workup, and then I told him what my chief complaint was, is I can't read, which is just random, but he knew that was neurological, and he literally sent me across the parking lot to the MRI next door and on the same campus that day. And then 2 days later, he gave me a preliminary diagnosis of MS, because they could see the lesions. They were just, it was classic.
Wow.
That isn't the case for most people, though. Most people, or I don't know if most people, but many people with MS, they have to rule out things like Lyme disease and lupus and vitamin B deficiency and a host of other things. There's what are called mimics, MS mimics, and they have to go through all of these tests. I mean, I had to go through all those tests too. But it was really clear for me. But for a lot of people, I know there's one person in here that had to basically diagnose themselves. And that, yep, that's you. And that's because it's such a mysterious disease, and there's so many ways into MS, and it's really hard for doctors to nail it down without a lot of tests.
Right. Suzanne Edison says to everyone, "Did you get cytokine storms, and what kind of meds seem to work for you?"
Well, cytokine storms are basically inflammatory flare-ups. So yeah, I mean, I would say anytime I'm having and some people call them attacks or flare-ups or exacerbations. I know there's a nurse in here that might even be able to explain this better than me, but yeah, I mean, cytokine storms, that's what that describes. So yeah, when I'm in a flare-up, and you can feel, I mean, I can feel it. I can feel it, just, it's weird. But as far as the meds that work for me, I used Tecfidera for 6 years, and it seemed to really help, but it had side effects that were really actually making it hard for me to just live a normal life. So that's kind of the double-edged sword of having MS, is you can have these medications and they're ridiculously expensive. I mean, like $90,000 a year. I don't pay that, but there's no guarantee they're going to work, and often they'll give you all these other side effects or put you at higher risk for infections like brain infections and stuff. So I've been stable for long enough that I pitched to my doctor, can I just go off for a while and just see what happens? Because I'd read some research that said that once you're postmenopausal, your prognosis doesn't really change. Regardless of whether you take a medication or not, you're going to have the same prognosis. So she said, let's try it, and you call me if you have any changes. And so far, so good. And since that time, I have moved, and we've been in a pandemic, and we've been through election, and I'm still hanging in there.
That's right.
So I do take a lot of vitamins and other kinds of supplements, and just really conscious of things that I eat. And I mean, I don't eat an MS diet, but I definitely try to eat better. Just good self-care and getting your adequate amounts of sleep
Yeah.
really helps. Really does help.
Okay. Sandy Yunan says to everyone, also reminds me that Yvonne Boland had written a poem called Quarantine that took on a whole new meaning in April in the early months of the pandemic and her untimely death.
Thank you for that. Yes, I remember that. I'd have to pull that one back up again, and I might, because I'm teaching a class on writing illness, and that would be a good thing to refresh. So thanks for that recommendation.
Suzanne Edison loved your ending. Sandy Yunan made a comment regarding the troll. It was so twisted at times. Very appropriate, Sandy. Yeah.
You know, what possesses people to be like that? I just don't get it. I don't understand. It is just not within my DNA to want to cause other people such harm and to be so predatory. I can't get it. I don't get it.
And Jill Cordry says, you are so talented, my friend, and it is so good to see you and hear you.
Oh, Jill. Jill is just she's been there she's like so dedicated. You're just such a great friend. Thank you so much for being here.
Christy Webster to everyone said, that's great. I've gotten so much of that kind of advice from experts about her chronic pain.
Yes. Yes, I know Christy's been going through some stuff, and I so get it. I get it, and it's a journey, isn't it? I know you have a sense of humor about it too, but you have your bad days as well, and I hate that for you.
Carice Flynn, I'm probably not saying that correctly, I apologize. Loving these pieces.
Oh, thank you, Cherise.
Sandy Yunan again says, bravo for your resiliency on so many levels.
Well, you know, I give that credit again to my mom. I mean, she was a 17-year lung cancer survivor, and she didn't die of lung cancer. So,
wow.
You know, I got to give her credit.
Sean Davis would like to know if you're still able to write long fiction.
Sean, that's a really good question. I try, but the brain space is just not there. I still want to, though. I have a speculative fiction novel that I really want to write. And I have, you know, outlines and all this, but it's really hard. It's really a lot to carry. So I hope to someday. Keep your fingers crossed. Thank you.
And Sandy Yunan again said, commenting about one of your poems, said the capital B before, wow. A line that you had in one of your pieces.
Oh, thank you.
Sandy, it's visceral celebration. I love that.
Yeah. Oh, I got the rock heart. That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you. And the before, it is capital B, because I don't know. Whenever you have a life-changing thing like the diagnosis, or something like you get married, or you have a baby, or something, there is a before, and then there's that after, and that's exactly what I meant by that. So
I was wondering how does struggling with your illness affect your daily writing practice?
That's a good question. I write for a living, so and I love what I do. I have the best job on the planet, I swear, and I work with some amazing people. At the end of the day, there just isn't much left. So what I used to do before, in the capital B before the pandemic, right, is I would go on these writing retreats, like silent retreats, where I would go and rent a cabin, or I take my camp trailer, as some of you know, down to a campsite at Port Townsend or whatever, and I would write all by myself and just, you know, have that silence and that space to just really sit inside my own creative writing. And that's how I got a lot of writing done. I haven't done that in a while. Like every camping trip that we had planned last year was canceled. One time it was canceled because they were actually using the campground as a place to put workers, because they didn't have enough people serving the COVID patients at an outbreak. So stunning. We're going to try again this year. I have 5 camping spots already reserved, and we'll try it again. But it's really hard at the end of the day to have anything left.
Okay.
But I just keep plugging along.
Christy Webster asked, what were some of your first symptoms?
Okay, so the first symptom that made me go to the doctor was the reading one. But I had symptoms about 12 years earlier. That was the postural tremor in my leg, something known as a paresthesia or dysesthesia, and it's like these weird tingling sensations that just kind of sweep over your body for no good reason. You're just sitting there and all of a sudden, whoosh, it just like blows right past you, like total goosebumps, and you have no idea where did that come from. Fatigue has been an ongoing thing, literally, for my whole life. I've just had this. You wouldn't. I have a bubbly personality, I guess, but I am exhausted all the time. It doesn't look that way, but it feels that way. And then recurring tinnitus, ringing ears all the time. It's just something out of whack there. Those were some of the main ones, but I also have probably the worst one is the one that I had when I was 9 years old, and I still get that. I just had it like on Christmas. And it's called the MS hug, which is not a very accurate name because it's not very pleasant at all, but it's a girdle band sensation. Basically, the muscles that work through your rib cage and your diaphragm that you use for breathing, they seize up and they like turn to rocks, and then it's really hard to breathe, and it's extremely painful. And you can't sit, you can't stand, you can't lay down, you can't find anything. It's really hard to breathe. I'll do yoga. I have this TENS unit I apply, I take medication, breathing, and eventually it goes away. One time it lasted about 20 hours. It sucked. And I still get those. But I got that the very first time when I was 9. And that's very distinct to MS. So,
I want to check in with you on the time. It's 7:55. Would you like to share? Would you like to cover any more questions, or?
Let's talk briefly about the Accelerated Cure Project.
Okay.
It'll be really quick, and then we have a giveaway, you guys. So let's get to the giveaways. And I have your questions. If we didn't answer them, I have a chat log that I can actually answer them in email if you want me to. So I can do that. So the Accelerated Cure Project is a nonprofit that provides money to help simplify and accelerate the clinical research process for research scientists trying to unlock the mysteries of MS. Okay, so they kind of they do a lot of like busy work for the scientists, but that actually makes it easier for them to get their work done and speed it up too, because time is of the essence. People are not getting better. You have this for the rest of your life. And then I liked them because I had actually contributed to a couple of anthologies a few years ago it's a series called Something on Our Minds, and it's written, and all the people that have work in there are people with MS. And I discovered that the Accelerated Cure Project really supports artists with MS, and they do all kinds of things. So I'm like, 2 birds, 1 stone, MS and art. Let's bring it. Let's do it. And they also do help provide practical support for people with MS. So like cooling vests, because there are problems with overheating and so forth. So I chose them well before the pandemic, because I was like, oh, these are the people. And then the pandemic comes along, and now there is no MS research going on at all. And for good reason. No money, because it's all going to COVID research, either research for the disease or for the vaccine or treatments. And of course, but that also includes the doctors, the clinics, the labs, and all the staff, and even all the patients that usually contribute in some way to research studies. And so everything's kind of offline and at a standstill right now. So I'm actually really doubly glad now that I'm helping them, because they're going to need all the help they can get to help boost these scientific researchers when it can happen again. So I really appreciate what they're doing, and I hope in some small way that I can help them to get their work done.
Yeah.
So that's because Intention Tremor is a fundraiser for that. I do have 1 copy to give away for free. I have a limited number, but I also have 3 other fun things to give away. And so let's just do this, okay? The first thing, and I actually put down criteria that you didn't know about. I'm very sneaky. I was paying attention to who was showing up on the chat and everything. Let me find my little note here. Here we are. Okay, so the very first thing I'm going to give away is this groovy, cool thing that I actually want myself. It looks like a little tiny version of my book, right?
Oh.
But guess what? It's a flash drive. You can plug it into your computer and save your files or transfer your files, and it's 4
And look
gig.
at the book cover.
I know, right?
Yeah,
And
I
you
know.
can keep it in your pocket. It's the coolest.
Awesome.
I'm such a nerd. So I'm going to give this away to the, this one goes to, let me see. This one goes to the person who arrived as the number 15 person on the attendee list. And I picked 15 because I was diagnosed on May 15th, 2013. And that person is Sean Davis.
Yay, Sean.
Yay, Sean, you can put your novels on here. Well, maybe. So you win. So congratulations. All right, so the second one. Okay, in my book, there's a poem that talks about I had some speech challenges that related to ordering coffee at Starbucks. So naturally, I had to give away the intention tremor mug. Of course. And what writer doesn't need a coffee mug or a tea mug, whatever, or soup mug for that matter? So I'm giving this mug to the first person to post a question in the chat. And let me go back and look real quick. That would be Suzanne Edison. Congratulations,
Yay,
Suzanne. Yay. Aren't you glad that you were able to get in finally? So that's cool. And then for the third one, we have this lovely journal. Actually, I really like this. I don't want to give it away, but it's got my logo on it. But it's a journal. We all love journals, right? And it has, like, you know, the little thingy, that elastic, and it has a little thingy for your pencil, and it's lined. And I'm giving this one away to the first person to log into tonight's launch party, and that is Beth Thorpe.
Yay, Beth.
Who I'm working with on a short story collection right now. So yay!
Oh, awesome.
So go cool. Us! And then last but not least, I gotta find the list here. Oh boy. Oh, okay. This, I'm so excited. This is going to the very first person to sign up for my virtual book tour notifications list. Because that person that first signs up makes you realize that people actually want to follow you and follow you around and listen to you read. And that means everything to me. So this person is Jill Cordry.
Jill.
You win a copy of, I know, isn't that funny? So congratulations to all the winners. And I will be in touch with you in email to make sure how to get the logistics of getting your prizes to you. So as we tie things up here, I'd like to just, right, we're almost to the toast, so you might want to maybe go get something if you don't already. I just want to say thank you. It's really hard to do this, but at the same time, I think there are a lot of people I would never have connected with had I not had a virtual tour. So there's a bright side to everything, right? I actually had a meeting earlier with a bunch of people from the East Coast. I know for a fact I never would have seen them. I never would have seen them on any kind of a tour. So there's a bright side. I wish to especially thank my lovely publisher, Lana Ayers at Moonpath Press. Because I did submit this to many places, and really I found the most loving home for this book, and her careful hands have really turned it into a thing to behold, and I'm forever indebted. Thank you. I also want to thank Sarah Loud at the Accelerated Cure Project for being a force for good in the world of MS research and awareness and support. And then last but not least, I'd love to thank my wonderful host and partner in sleep medicine, Daniel Moore, for helping me make this very first launch party run smoothly, and hopefully it's a memorable one for everyone here. So
Thank you.
thank you. Before we toast, one more thing. I have a private shindig coming up on March 5th or March 1st, which launches National MS Awareness Month as part of my book tour, because why not? On March 5th, if you're attending the AWP virtual conference, I actually have an author signing table virtually at their book fair on the 5th at 12:32. So hopefully people come in and we'll do this whole thing in a weird, digital fashion. Later in March, I am going to be the host or the guest of a wonderful podcast called FUMS, and that's exactly what it means, FUMS. And the hostess is amazing, so I can't wait to do that. And then I'm going to be featured in Cultivating Voices live poetry series with Sandy Yanon, in August. So, and there's going to be more things even between now and then. I'm getting some good feedback from other authors of poetry who are also people with MS, and we're going to put some events together and put this out in the world. And then luckily, or with any luck, we'll all get vaccinated soon, and then we can have live events and get on with the business of living. So I hope to see you guys there. So now I'm going to hand it back to you, Daniel, and everyone get your glass, get your drink, whatever that may be. Mine is grapefruit.
Okay, so on behalf of Tamara Sellman, I thank you so much for joining us tonight for this special event, and I wish you all to have a rest of the wonderful evening. And please buy Intention Tremor and support Tamara. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, everybody. Cheers, cheers, cheers.
Cheers.
Oh my God, so many wonderful faces. Oh, it's so good to see you guys all here.
And you're going to stay on and talk for a while, right?
Yeah, I'm going to stay on for another
Okay.
15 days, or you can leave. I'm going to leave it all unmuted and we can all just chat. And thank you. And it's just Sandy with her heart. I love it. I love it. Love seeing all of you guys. Oh my gosh. Janice, you made it.
Bye, sweetie.
Bye, Daniel. Wasn't he great? He was great. And he stepped up. I'm telling you, I didn't even think about having a host until like the last week. I don't know what I was thinking. And he's like, oh, I'll do it. I'm like, and it made all the difference in the world. So, but that's what poetry community is, right? That's what we do. We all kind of pitch in, and I would do it for someone if they needed it. So, Anyway, it's so, yeah.
What's the best way to buy your book?
Well, you can go, you can find it, let me put it this way. You can go to my website and you have several options. The first being IndieBound, yay, independent booksellers. The second one being Barnes & Noble. The third one being Amazon. If you want a signed copy, you can just buy it directly from me through PayPal hookup, and then I can send you a signed copy. So that's a little bit more because I have to pay the shipping and handling, but. Any other?
So I just send you an email about how to do that?
Actually, go to the website, go to the book page, tksellman.com, and then just follow the, the lily pads, and you'll find it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, it's so good. Jennifer's up there. I see you, Jennifer.
Hey, Kira. It's good. That was great.
Oh, thank you. So fun. Thank you so much. It's been a long time coming, and I'm just thrilled.
Well, very professional, and I'm impressed.
Well, thank you. Well, I hope that
I can't wait to read it.
Oh, I can't wait for you to read too. Share it if you know people that would be interested, and it doesn't have to be just people with MS. It could be anyone who likes to, sit inside experimental kinds of writing. And
my friend Bonnie Albin Frank, I think you know her. I'm going to make sure she knows about it because she mentioned you. She does a lot of internet research on all kinds of conditions and things, and I'll make sure she knows about it.
That name sounds really familiar. Yeah. And if she does research, I mean, because there's a lot of sciencey kind of nerdy stuff in there that's sort of batched with, personal. So that would be
I'll
great.
make sure
Anytime-
she knows about it.
Thank you. Honestly, word of mouth is still like the best way to get poetry in the hands of people who want to read it. I mean, that's why I go to Goodreads. I know my people who I love their taste, and I know they know what a good book is, a good read is, and I follow them. And so and this is in good. Intention Tremor is in Goodreads now too, and you can also give it a star rating and a review in Amazon or wherever
Yeah.
they review. So please share widely. Yeah,
Will do.
excellent.
Okay,
Thank
Tamara,
you.
Thank you. It was great to hear your reading. Really
Thank
enjoyed.
you, Julie. And thank you so much for helping in the back end. Julian has been really helpful in helping connect me with other people. And again, community is everything, and I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for reaching out.
Oh
Great to
yeah,
see everybody. Bye,
yes.
Lauren. Gotta say goodbye.
Have a good night.
You too.
Tamara, John Hetke, it was lovely. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, John, I don't see you up there, but it's so good to hear your voice.
No,
I'm glad.
I wasn't able to get into the meeting, and I kept waiting in the waiting room, but obviously it didn't trigger or something, so I just phoned in.
Okay, well, that's good. You're here. Did you hear it?
Yes.
Well, that's all that matters, right?
Well, I mean, it's like I didn't get to see your amazing countenance, but I did get to hear the poetry, and that is the important part.
Well, and I did record this, so I can send you a copy of the recording too, so you can actually see it. How would we do that? Yes, I actually have a couple of friends who couldn't come because they have, actually one person who was going to actually host the other event. They were all set to do it, and then they have COVID. I'm like,
oh dear.
don't worry about hosting. I'll send you a copy. I mean,
Yeah.
it sucks. So, these are the days. But anyway,
Yeah.
It was a very
I'm sorry.
inspiring reading, and it was a very inspiring reading.
Thank
And
you.
I'm just really so happy that we connected, and Lana knows how to pick great books. So,
Yes, she does.
and I truly do believe, yeah, she really does. And I truly do believe that, the books find their right homes. Um, and it seems like a very, very good connection, a good place for you to have landed. I mean, Lana's a visionary editor, as you know, and a really amazing poet in her own right. So I'm just thrilled. I'm just thrilled for you, because what a journey you've had. And
Thank
yeah,
you.
so brava to you, brava.
Thank you.
And
Yes, I am super glad that
I
we.
was going to mention also, you might contact Risa Denenberg if you're not
Oh
already
yeah.
friends with Risa,
Okay.
because Risa, does she has a poetry review blog that's pretty popular, and I
Great.
can't think of what it's called now. It's like something cafe. And then Deb Bacharach has also been doing lots and lots of reviews, and she would be a good contact as well.
What was her name again? Deb Bacharach? Yeah.
Debbie Bacharach. She's also
Okay.
one of those poets on the coast. That's where I met Michelle
okay.
too, is Poets on the
Okay.
Coast. So Lana's in Poets on the Coast. So yeah.
Okay.
So yeah.
Awesome.
So anyway, and if if there's anything other way I can help land some reviews or anything, just shout to me. I'm happy to help in any way.
Thank you so much. And I'm telling you, that's the community right there. I mean, it's funny because when I sent out notices to certain people, in my initial, you're gonna just, this is just crazy. I sent out this initial invitation, or it was more of an appeal to certain people I know in LinkedIn, okay, which is a very different space, but I was asking for help trying to, locate whatever. And I had sent out that message on Inauguration Day, and I literally did send my book to Joe Biden, not because I think he's going to read it, although he might.
Yeah.
Anything can happen, but probably not.
Yeah.
It was more symbolic. It was more me saying, I'm in this world and I'm going to send my damn book to Joe Biden.
Right.
And
Mhm.
so, right. I mean, I thought it was funny and fun, and it's fine. And one of the people responded, you really didn't do that. You really don't think that Joe Biden has time to read your little book. And I was,
Oh,
wow, well, never mind. You're not in my network anymore.
It
Well, I
can
mean,
happen.
I think the thing is, it's your journey, right? It's your journey, and
Yeah.
I remember, right? So like, it's your book, it's your journey. First of all, Lana's not going to say anything if you do anything to promote your book, wild and crazy, as outlandish as it is. You're out there getting word out about your work, and that only supports the press. And I remember, I'm struck because of a couple things, and I won't speak long, but it may be been some it might be helpful to some folks here. So my book came out in 2019, and it was my debut collection. I had started sending it out in 1998, so it took 21 years to be published. And I like to tell people this story. I like to tell people that story because I want people to like keep their lights on, for themselves. Um,
Yes.
but the thing is my editor was thinking between 2019 or 2020. So my book could have come out easily, just as come out easily during the pandemic. And that's what was in part what inspired me to start cultivating voices, was because I just had a lot of empathy for folks who were putting out their book during the pandemic. Because just like everybody else, I watched all my readings evaporate, even though I had already been able to launch my book. But so that was part of the impetus, was to create something to keep poetry alive during the pandemic, and to support the presses who were supporting all of us.
Absolutely. Because they're
Um,
still putting out books and people
yeah.
are reading maybe even more than they were. And lo and behold, we have poetry in the White House. I mean, we had this fantastic
right.
poet who's now going to read at the Super Bowl. And we
Yes.
had a spoken word artist when the America's Got Talent contest last summer, which is selected by
Yes.
ordinary
Yes.
people. So
Yeah.
this is like a watershed moment in
Yeah.
a way. We just have to find a way to work together to keep building that momentum, I think. So, and I have to say, Michelle Bombardier, who hosted the other meeting, and then Daniel, they both came out with books right before, and even if you didn't come out in 2020, if you came out in 2019, you still have that whole year to try to, that's where your momentum is. And so 2020 put the kibosh on all of their plans too. So, I'm happy to, work with other writers who have books that came out that time, and we could just call ourselves the pandemic writers and just do reading. Why not?
Yeah. Sandy, thank you for your kind words, but really, it's a complete honor to publish Tamara's book, and I'm the lucky one to be able to present it. I mean, I'm just honored that she would allow our press to publish such an important and passionate book. So I feel
I feel like it was kind of a risk because there's some odd pieces in there, including one that doesn't look like it now, but it was the shape of a brain. And it's a really cool poem. And it was one of the poems, crossword poem. So when you read the book, you'll see the crossword. But I originally created a poem in the shape of a brain, and then I blacked out areas in the poem to show, to suggest the lesions. And there's lots of discussion about potholes in that poem. And so those were sort of potholes. So, there's the Bainbridge Artist Resource Network, and they have a broadside press there. And I think I might take that original and make a broadside out of it and just put it on my wall. And just go. Or maybe even that could be something I could raffle off in a future event or something. Wouldn't that be fun? I think it would. Because that took a lot of work. I did a lot of work on that one. But
I don't think I saw that version of it, did I?
You might have, but then I knew that it wasn't going to fit on the page, and so I turned it into, but that's okay. I can still turn it. I can do anything I want. So
Yeah, I think you should have. You should have.
That's right.
Tamara, it's Martha. I love your energy.
What's that?
Oh, she said, oh, can I ask a question? Oh, this
Yeah,
is,
go for it. Go for it.
first of all, the reason I'm here, Tamara, Ann Hersey, is I remember you from more than a decade or so ago, and you're wonderful marketeers.
Yes.
And
20 years ago.
you have been such a community builder. So, I haven't seen you in person for so long, but Facebook or whatever. I really am. Well, I'm there for you. I'm getting your book somehow. You say the best way is maybe go through your website if I want it signed,
Yeah,
or
whatever's easiest for you. A lot of people, it's Amazon. I try not to go that well, but if that's
Sure.
easier, go for it. But you can get one direct from me. If you go to tksellman.com and then click on intention, just follow the pages down. And then there's other options there. So you can go through Barnes & Noble and IndieBound. And I think Eagle Harbor Books is now carrying it. So there might be some local bookstores. I'm working on that. That's still on my list of things to.
Well, Eagle Harbor would be Bainbridge Island, and really, I've moved to Mount Lake Terrace, so
you're far.
Yeah, I was always in Seattle before, and so whenever I came over to the Kelly connection, she'd pick me up at the ferry, and then I'd end up at your house. I had to come a long way, so but I am so pleased for you, and it's a book you probably didn't want to write, but I'm glad you wrote. I mean, chronic illness. I'm a type 1 diabetic, and every once in a while I say, oh, there's a book there. But problems with diabetes sneaks into it. But the book has not come out. But I love the idea you did hybrid. So another quick follow-up question is, you read poems. How much prose would you say? What's the ratio?
Oh, I think it's I don't know, 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 maybe. It's more poetry, but even in the poetry, some of them are prose poems, some of them are concrete poems, or they were. Some of them are just free verse, and there's that blitz, and then there's some weird ones that have spacing, and then I have these like flash essays that are different entirely, and that just reflects who I am as a writer. I mean, I've been a prose writer my whole life, but I really, really love writing poetry because there's an energy in writing poetry. And actually, quite honestly, when it comes to my creative writing, when I have an idea and I want to develop it, I throw it all on the page and I kind of let it tell me what it wants to be. And I find it's just easier. Don't try to fit the square peg into the round hole. If something wants to be an essay, then turn it into an essay. If it wants to be a tiny, tiny little poem, then that's what I'm gonna do.
I totally agree, and I really look forward to reading your book. So
thank you. Hey, Martha, I have a question. Yeah. Hi, Martha.
Oh, hi. It's hard to tell where people are looking. I'm Martha. I've known Tamara for quite some time, but haven't seen her in a long time. I am involved with the Barn, the Bainbridge Artisan Resource Network. I'm taking a wee break. We're about to go to Texas for a month to take care of my elderly in-laws. Anyway, let me just tell you a couple things about what are going on at the Barn. Of course, we had to stop having in-person classes.
Yeah.
But we've continued, on this. It worked well for the writer's studio to have Zoom classes.
Okay.
So we have offered classes, and we have. I host a salon every 2 or 3 months.
Okay.
And I always put that on Facebook. So if you want to read, any of you, if you're interested in reading at a salon, it's usually a Thursday evening at 7 o'clock. We love to have readers. We have everything from someone who just said, I think I want to write a book, to a multi-published author. And it's always a lot of fun. We've really never had what I would consider a bad reading, because there's just a lot of energy. And the salon format has worked well on Zoom. We didn't think it would. Also, we have an event, a third Thursday, where we don't pay the person. We pay teachers, but for third Thursday we don't pay. But it can be an interview format. I did the one in December, and I interviewed Jonathan Evison. So that was so fun. He's such a fun guy.
He's amazing.
Just things that like that are going on, and if anyone has a proposal of something they might want to teach, you're welcome to reach out to me through Tamara. I'm not doing that much right now, but I can certainly take a look. And right now I'm just salons.
Yeah, no, but I have to say, I've been to your salons. I remember going to a salon just like a couple of weeks after I went to Centrum one summer.
Okay.
It was a really great time. And you're right, the energy is really good.
It's a lot of fun. I mean, it's so fun to be in the room and have a little podium and all that, but we've all had to find new ways of doing things. And it keeps, and we don't just do poetry in April. Because everyone wants the poets in April. We just look at it that we will do poetry year round.
Right on. Why just save it for April?
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, just lots of opportunities. If you have anything creative, just get in touch with me and we'll talk about it.
Thank you so much, Martha. It was so good to see you. It's been a long time. I think the last actually, Lana will appreciate this. The last time I saw you, we were getting ice cream at Mora's. And I think the last time I saw Lana, we were getting ice cream at Mora's.
Well, and Port Townsend's just not that far, so someday I will come out there. But
Absolutely. Well, it's so good to see you here. So good. And then of course I see Shanti there, and Jennifer. Oh, it's just so nice to see all these friendly faces. I was so nervous coming to this. Oh my gosh, because I don't know, and I'm struggling. I have all these little signs pointing to my camera to make sure I'm looking at the right spot because it's so confusing, and the audience needs your eye contact, and it's so hard because you're not used to just staring at this eyeball. So I'm getting better at it. It's so weird though, but
that was sweet that you shared that.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I'm getting better. And I think everything is like I'm on this learning curve, which always happens when you're doing something new. Technology wise, I'm learning all these new things like making animations, and I'm gonna make a video and blah blah blah. So I have to pace myself because my brain's just gonna crash if I don't just, like tomorrow I'm gonna sleep all day. So this is a lot, but that's okay because I knew I planned it that way. I don't have any deadlines tomorrow. I'm gonna sleep and then I'll recharge the old cantaloupe and get back to work. So,
I know it's not the same.
I do know what you mean.
I know it's not the same thing, but I have a TBI from a concussion. I know it's not the same as but in terms of energy and how much I can stay on the screen, there's probably some similarities. And I now spend a lot of time on the screen because of the cultivating voices. But I just want to say, you have a really wonderful presence about you. Even I'm sure live person, you are explosive and dynamic. Because you exuded that in this screen tonight as well. And you have a really great presence about you. And I think you're going to do really great on your virtual tour. I see a lot of people read and they can't, sadly, it's hard to deliver through that fourth wall. And
it really is.
Yeah, you did it really beautifully. So
well, it helps to have friendly faces on the other side cheering me on too. So I couldn't do it without you guys. I mean, I was practicing reading and staring at myself in the camera earlier, and it was just so weird. It's so much better when you guys are so much better. So even if it's not live, but one day I am going to have that big backyard barbecue. My husband is building a stage in our backyard. He's a musician.
Oh,
So when that day comes and we can all do this vaccine-free, you know, we are all vaccinated, we're COVID-free, I'm throwing that big barbecue and we're going to sell some books and read some poetry and play some music, and it's going to be fantastic.
that'll be fun.
Yeah.
I'll bring more ice cream.
Do it big.
And there's a Mora right here in Kingston where I live now. I can literally walk there from my house.
Dessert.
Yes. So actually they deliver now.
Well,
so.
thank you.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you
so
again. It's late on the East Coast, so I'm gonna hop off. I
Oh,
really
gosh.
appreciated it so
Yes, well,
much.
thanks for hanging on for so long too. And I really appreciate it. We'll be in touch,
No
Sandy.
worries.
We've got all kinds of things to talk about. Cool.
Be well, everybody. Thanks so
All right.
much.
Bye.
Thanks for the heart rock.
I'm gonna run too, Tamara. This was fantastic.
Oh,
It took me a while to get on, but I got on and it was worth it.
you made it. That's okay. I mean, I've been using this software for a long time just because it's what I use for work. I know everyone else uses Zoom, but this is what I'm familiar with, and I got to cut myself a little, you know, take any shortcut I can.
Well, it's good to learn something new. So
Yeah.
so I did.
People, it was a great crowd, and I'm not sure I would have had that many people at a live reading. So, yay!
Probably. Yeah, true. People can come from the East Coast. So,
Yeah. Well, the East Coast reading went really well too. And there was not quite as many people, but there was still a lot of people. I mean, more than I expected. I was actually seeing the numbers going up, and I was like, what? And there's some people there I really admired. I was like, wow, they actually came to my reading. So
that's great.
pretty fun. It's fun. Yeah. So I am going to just sleep. I don't know if I'm going to sleep like a log or not tonight because I'm just like amped up right now. It might take a while to settle in, and then I will crash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It might be a late morning, but that's okay. I'm glad that you guys.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
I'm gonna run, Tamara, but I'll catch up with you.
Okay, and have a safe trip back to Texas.
Oh yeah, thanks. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye,
So,
Tam.
are you leaving? Okay, it was so good to see you, Jen. And thank you so much for all of your help too.
See you soon, I hope.
Oh yes, yes, definitely. Take care.
Yep. Take care.
Yes. And Shanti, I'm so glad that you made it. And I've been seeing your face. And Shanti and I were in Gary's. I'm looking at Lon over here, but you're here. We were in Gary Lilly's poetry workshop last month, and so by the end of the day, I felt like such a slug because like I said, I'm just toast by the end of a work day. And then I would sit in the workshop, and I just love Gary, but I was just like, oh, I'm just there's nothing in there. But then I did get a couple of really good pieces.
Great.
Two of the meetings I did, and I think you did too. It seems like you've been hitting kind of a wall yourself, Shanti, and that you did find a way in.
Yeah,
Good.
it surprised me. I found I was writing about my dad, and that was really a surprise to me, and it was nice. So now I have a few things to work on, and I'm not generally a poet, but I like writing poetry. I've just never thought of myself as a poet before, but
just keep doing it.
I wanted to tell you, you did a fabulous job tonight, and I also want you to know that I remember all those years ago. What has it been? Maybe a decade now since I was at the conferences.
Maybe 15 years. Yeah.
Yeah, and you were so warm and friendly and inviting toward me, and that just meant so much.
Oh,
I want you to know that.
Well, you were one of my favorite people in that whole workshop because I love about you is that you just speak what you think, and I just love that.
Sometimes it's too much.
Not everybody does that, especially in the Northwest. It's kind of this weird thing. And then I lived in Chicago for a while where everyone speaks their minds. And maybe that's why I like Lana too, because you have this like East Coast connection where people just say what's on their mind. And you do that too. And I love that about you. Just say what you mean, and don't dance around it. So, yeah, it was a long time ago though. You're right. I think it was probably 15 years. And I do remember
you. 2011 or 12 was the last time I was there. I was there, I think, 2 or 3 years in a row, and then things got more and more expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they did. They did.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah.
I feel
I'm
like
not
I
sure.
went there too at a conference. Didn't we meet, Shanti? You look so familiar.
Yeah, we did. I had dark hair.
Yes, and chickens, right? Chickens, right?
Geese.
Geese.
Ducks.
Oh, ducks. I mean ducks.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Oh my gosh. Yes, I remember that.
Yes. How could you forget? And there I had a poem with duck crossings in it tonight.
Yes, I heard that. Yeah, that stood out. And my little duck, I think I brought her with me that time.
You did.
And
I remember
distinctly. She just passed away this last week.
Oh,
I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry.
How long did ducks live?
They say they live between like 7 to 9 years or 7 to 10 years, and she lived to be about 10 almost.
Okay.
Or older than that. Yeah. But she was there. She was there in the wine tent at the very beginning, and she was running on the beach, and she was at the campground.
And then you were camping too, I remember.
Yeah.
And that's about the time I started camping up there as well. So
yeah, I remember that you said you had your trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've written a lot of stuff in that trailer. Oh boy.
Yeah. And you were a poet even then, Shanti. I remember you read a poem at the open mic, didn't you? Maybe you just read a poem in a small group of us. There was a group of us that hung out, and I think Chris Abani was with us. Do you remember this?
Wow, that was a while back.
Poem, and Chris Abani was impressed.
That's awesome, Chris Abani.
You don't remember that? I don't remember that.
No.
Wow, that's a long time ago.
It was.
Yeah. Hopefully, I have no idea what the new Centrum's going to be like now with Jordan gone, and then of course this year it was complete, blind.
Yeah.
So we'll see what George Murray does with it in the future.
What about Sam?
What about who?
Sam, is he not there anymore?
He was supposed to be there through this last year, so I'm not sure if he's going to tack on or if he's done. I'd have to ask him. I'm not sure because I sure love Sam, and I've learned a lot from him too. I mean, he's just like super energizing, and I love it that he's irreverent. I love his irreverence actually more than anything.
Yeah.
Really funny guy.
For real.
Yeah, I miss those days going there. That was really nice.
Yeah.
I really had hoped that it would continue, but it just wasn't possible, so.
Yeah. Well, check for like scholarships and stuff too in the future. They might have more of that. And maybe because of the pandemic, there might be, new ways in because they're just trying to get people to come back. So that would be great.
Doesn't Kahini have scholarships? Because I know my friend Linda attended probably the same thing in Hawaii that you did because she was able to get a scholarship.
Yes. Oh, I think was it Linda?
My friend Linda? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I went. Yeah.
Linda Warren?
So glad Linda Warren. And I'm so thrilled. I bought her book. I'm so thrilled that she published that book. I mean, I remember when I first met her, it was at Centrum and she was talking about the first chapters of that book. And here it is now, a living, breathing. That's just, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
maybe
Kahini is like something that we could all look into in the future when the pandemic's over.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm definitely going a year from now. I'm going to go at the end of January for that event, the same one that I did a year ago. And I'm going to bring my family though, and they're going to hang out while I do my workshop, and then we're going to enjoy Hawaii.
It would be great to be there at the same time.
Yes. Yeah. So we'll see. We should all conspire.
I know Linda wants to go back.
Yeah. It was good. You know, it was weird though. The day that I came back was the 1st of February, and those two I flew from Kahue to Honolulu, then Honolulu to Seattle, and they're like 90% of the people in both of those airports had masks on, and this is February 1st. And
Wow.
I am freaking out. I'm sitting in a spot next to this couple, and they had masks on, and then she dropped hers, and she's pointing, trying to get me to help her pick up the mask, and I'm like, what? No, you know. But at the same time, I appreciated that they were trying to be safe, and this is before there really was any talk. And so I kept telling people, you know, everyone at the airport's wearing masks. We need to be worried. We need to be worried. And then it didn't really dawn on people until March, you know. And actually, when I got back, I had to go see my neurologist to get my my annual, you know, MRI and all that stuff. And I told him I'd been in Hawaii and I'd just gone back on the 1st. And he's like, you need to just stay home for a couple more days. And he actually put me in isolation, just to be on the safe side, because he was aware, and they're all, you know, didn't want me to panic, and I did, and it's fine. I'm used to being just, you know, a hermit. It's the life of a writer, at least for me it is.
Yeah.
So anyway. Well, this was great, and I'm so glad I'm done because I'm tired. But Lana, I'm super excited, and I'd like to talk to you offline about like how the sales are going and all that good stuff. So
I'll say good night.
Yeah.
it was good to see you, Shanti, and I will hopefully see you soon somewhere.
Yeah.
Virtually, and maybe at another reading. It would be great. All right.
Okay, see ya. Bye.
All right. Good night. Thank you.
Bye, Ted.
Okay. I'm still recording. I'm gonna need to record this. Stop your recording.